Hi, ICRS friends. When we started Visionaries of Cartilage Regeneration series, we were not sure how is it going to be. We were little apprehensive, but the work group on underrepresented regions did a marvelous job. We could select 6 hidden gems of cartilage regeneration from across the world, and we presented them to you, hearing their lifetime stories, their success, their failures. I'm very pleased to bring you 2 more incredible people to you today. The Visionaries of Cartilage Regeneration Series 1, Episode 6. Today's interviewer is Professor Juan Pablo Martinez. He's Professor of Orthopedics from Cali, Colombia. And today's interviewee is Professor Yu Moriguchi. He's Professor of Orthopedics from Osaka University. Welcome, Juan. Welcome, Professor Yu.
Thank you, Deepak, and it's a real honor to be here for the ICRS conducting this interview with Dr. Yu Moriguchi from Japan, and we can have together India, Colombia, and Japan today. And welcome, Dr. Moriguchi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and it's great opportunity for us to, have some conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, so you live in Osaka, Japan. Why don't we begin talking about Osaka? Why should we go there?
Yeah, Osaka is the second biggest city in Japan. The number is Tokyo, but Osaka has a kind of longer history. So this city has been major city since the era of samurai, and then even after samurai era, we have, once Osaka was the largest city in, right after the samurai era. And then we have a Kyoto city, very close to Osaka, which is authentic ancient capital city. And then we have Kobe as well. So we have very different culture, but those different 3 cities close to each other. And then Osaka is located at the center of this metropolitan area. So that's why, Osaka is so, attractive.
Yeah, I like to run marathons, and I've heard that there's a nice marathon in Osaka.
Oh, yes. Osaka has 2. The Kobe has 2. Yes. Very famous marathon.
Nice, nice. Maybe I can go one day. So let's talk a little bit about yourself. You have been a sports medicine surgeon, a spine surgeon, but most of all, you have been working in research a lot. So how did this begin for you? How you got involved in research?
Yeah, I graduated from Osaka University Medical Department 2003, and then I spent 6 years for the orthopedic residency. During my residency, I sometimes faced the condition that cannot be adequately treated by the current treatment. So that's why I decided to go to the PhD candidate so that we can conduct the basic science research on the translational research that may help the treat the very challenging condition I faced during my residency. So, but I got the pleasure, of the research because, every time I conducted research, I encountered something very new. So immediately came to conducting the research, basic science research. So that's why I still continue to, do some research work.
Yeah, and you have been you have a lot of products, you have publications, you have patents, and I would like to talk about a little bit about some of your patents. For example, that artificial intelligence based state stimulator. AI. It's been we're talking a lot about AI nowadays. So what's about that? What did you work on?
Yeah, I think that's the most recent one of my patent, and that's the most exciting one for me right now. And I use the deep learning, that is so-called AI. I use those AI just for the gait analysis. The gait is like a walking analysis because we have to evaluate the condition of the patient. But we have some like a clinical scoring system, but some are very subjective. So we have to definitely make some objective assessment based on the analysis of the gait. So I mean, if you shoot the patient, shoot the video of the patient walking, and then artificial intelligence actually analyze that video. And then those AI, calculate the kind of like classical parameters such as gait speed, stride ratio, whatever. But also deep learning says, this patient have a kind of like a classical, typical pathological patterns. I mean, if you train those AI properly, those AI know what the patient with some certain disease walks, how they walk. This AI can learn how the patient walks. So that's why I use this.
So you can classify by disease, and you can also measure improvement with gait.
Yeah, exactly. For example, I'm a spine surgeon currently, more focusing on the spine surgery. And if you look at the patient with spastic gait, those patients usually have a cervical myelopathy. Those patients show some spastic gait, but you can tell that this patient demonstrates some typical pattern of the spastic gait. So AI knows that.
Yeah, and I think that that's so important because we need to have objective ways of measuring our treatments, our outcomes. So I think that's very important for us too. And what about that bioabsorbable implant for the intervertebral disc that you developed?
Yes, absorbable implant is like we used to use like collagen gels, but not normal collagen gel, like cross-linked collagen gel. This is makes those gels, cross-linking makes those gels stiffer and closer to the nature of annulus fibrosus, the outer part of the intervertebral disc. So we use this collagen gel to seal the annular tear. That is the initiation of whole disc degeneration. So we just targeting the early degeneration of disc, intervertebral disc, so that we can treat the annular tear, annular injury. That is also the cause of the lumbar disc herniation. And then we seal those annular defect with this cross-linked collagen gels. So that is a absorbable, treatment.
Nice. And have you also checked the biomechanical properties of it?
Yes. Biomechanically, that cross-linked collagen gel is very helpful. Also, surprisingly, we can see the kind of like biological healing on the surface of annular defect. This collagen gel induces the intrinsic healing, much better than the former, the other collagen gels. So that's why we cross-link the gel.
That's very interesting. And now let's talk about that 3D construct that you worked for cartilage, for cartilage injuries.
What did you say? Sorry.
You developed also like a scaffold for cartilage problems and injuries.
Exactly. Yes. We developed the tissue engineered construct. We call it TEC, tissue engineered construct. But this is composed of like mesenchymal, synovium-derived mesenchymal stem cells and extracellular matrices that these cells synthesize by themselves. So we call this kind of artificial tissue TEC. And then this material has very unique property. Actually, the surface of the TEC expressed some sort of like adhesive protein, such as vitronectin and adiponectin. and then those protein help the TEC stick to the host tissues. So making fibrin glue or suture unnecessary for transplantation.
Oh, that's nice. And what type of cells? How do you have to culture them, and you have to put them together for a while, and then you take it to the patient to the OR, or you put them all together during the surgery?
No, first we have to harvest the mesenchymal stem cell for the synovium. So we usually, perform the arthroscopy for the first surgery, and then look at the, lesion, and also harvest the synovium. And then we harvest the synovium, and we gonna expand this synovial-derived mesenchymal stem cell in ex vivo. And then for the second surgery is a transplantation surgery. So it usually takes 2 to 3 weeks to develop the tissue engineered construct. And then, once we get the TEC, we transplant this TEC without any suturing or fibrin glue attachment. We just transplant it in the defect of the cartilage.
And how long between the first and the second surgery? How long would it take?
3 weeks, because we need 3 weeks for the development of TEC. We have to first we have to expand the culture cells. We need a bunch of cells for the development of TEC. The MSC has proliferate themselves. So, but still we need some time, like 3 weeks for the development of TEC, or sometimes 4 weeks, depending on the kinetics of expansion.
Okay, and do you have it commercially available already?
Not yet, but I think not commercially available. We just finished a phase 3 clinical trial, and then yes, we're gonna show some data very soon in the publications. So
because you have a publication from 2018, right, in the American Journal of Sports Medicine with this.
Yeah, that is phase 2.
That was phase 2. It's very interesting, but I understand that you have also used allogenic cells, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You use them also with this same construct, or you use them in a different way?
I mean, for the articular cartilage, we use the same construct, but different cell sources. Sometimes, for the clinical trial, we use the autogenic, autograft. Yeah. In the future, for the animal experiment, allogenics also works. So I think the allogenic transplantation for the tissue engineered construct would be enhanced the usability. It's much easier for everyone, because it can be, for the autograft, it cannot be the off the shelf. You have to wait. You have to harvest, and then you have, right? So off the shelf.
Yeah, I think that would be like a good solution, one surgery, and maybe work easier. And the other thing that I always think about these 2-step surgeries is that you can have contamination of your cultures, and then you can lose everything. How you manage for that? When do you use like different cultures, different places, or how you work to avoid like losing all the cells?
Yeah, I think that definitely it's very important to maintain the quality of the cell culturing. So that's why you definitely need a good cell processing center. So I mean, there's some qualification, but I think all you need is like a cell processing center, and everything is clean, everything is very much controlled. And then that's the downside of the autograft, because without cell processing center, you cannot make anything.
Yeah, but even in that, you could have a contamination, and with allogenic cells, it's gonna be easier. It's gonna be easier, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So do you think that this is something we could have all worldwide in all places of the world one day, this type of technology that you're working in? Because there are some places in, for example, for us in South America, where we don't have this technology available yet. So maybe you think this could go worldwide?
Yes, I think so. I mean, we have a very promising data from the also phase 2, but the phase 3 is also promising. And then, it could be alternative treatment for some sort of especially early degeneration phase of the knees, And also our technology can be applicable for the meniscus injury or some sort of degeneration. So I actually conducted research on the animal experiment for the meniscus defect, and it works. And also meniscus sometimes thought to be the initiation of whole the degeneration of the knee. So if you treat meniscus at the beginning, maybe you could prevent of the subsequent degeneration that could happen in the whole knee, like articular cartilage as well. So I mean, there's a lot of possibility, and then also sometimes we visit Asian country such as Thailand and India, also sometimes Indonesia. I mean, they actually want to try this kind of technology very much, and also same thing happened to South America. I mean, I think at least this is very safe. That's why we finished phase 1, phase 2. So I mean, it's worthwhile trying, do this kind of technology everywhere.
Well, if you want to expand your phase 3 to South America, I want to make part, man.
Oh, that's great. Yes. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. So when you talk about allogenic cells, where are you taking them from? Who are the donors for them?
Donors for them. Yes. I think that it could be healthy individual is the younger individual is ideal, because MSC have some sort of senescence phenomena. So I think maybe if somebody gets some kind of knee injury in the early stage, at that time it could just a little bit synovium. We don't need that much synovium, but the synovium itself doesn't contribute biomechanics that much. So I think it's acceptable for us to take some synovium from the younger healthy subject.
Yeah, but in your studies, what type of allogenic cells did you use? From where did you obtain them?
We also obtained those cells from synovium of the knee joint.
Yeah, so it was like a surgery performed to someone else, or it was like cadaveric, or it was
for allogenic. I mean, we only for the autogenic for the clinical trial. But if we're gonna do this the allogenic fashion, I mean, we have to harvest some others synovium.
Okay. So I understand that you have played soccer and tennis as some of your sports and different activities. What can you tell us about that?
I'm not very, good at the football, but I better than playing tennis, because I started playing tennis when I was 6 years old, something like that, and then all time I played tennis. And these days I play tennis with my son. And also when I was doing the clinical research fellowship in Cornell, New York City, so I lived close to the stadium of the tennis stadium, which hold the U.S. Open every year. So I'm a kind of fan of the tennis Grand Slams. So that's, I love Roger Federer,
Okay.
So I love tennis. And also, those sports have some kind of sports injury, of course, like tennis and, like a football. It's very common injury. Like a sport injury is very common in the tennis and football. So I think that
Did you have an injury of yourself, or you didn't?
Not really, but I got a fracture when I was playing like tennis. When I was a med student, I got a sprain of the ankle, and I got a fracture of like football, like metatarsal bone, the fifth metatarsal bone. I got a fracture, but the very typical sprain fracture.
Yeah. So when people see people like you that have been successful in research with publications and patents, people want to know, how do you manage to do that? How's an usual day for you, a weekday for you? What do you do? How you combine your work with personal life? So how would be one day in your life, you Moriguchi's life?
Yes, that's a good question. So I learned a lot from my mentor of the Cornell University. That he's a very famous spine surgeon. At the same time, he conducted a lot of research. Every time I saw him, he told me you should hire some like a research fellow if you want to conduct the basic science research as a spine surgeon. Because if you are a spine surgeon, you cannot, culture the cell by yourself. So I, get some good fellows, and then also I collaborate with some other basic science researcher that they actually take care of that what I cannot understand. So but the basic science research doesn't understand the clinical aspect at all. So we can compensate each other. So the collaboration is my key, and but I understand both the science aspect and the clinical aspect. So that's that is my strong point. I can understand both. In general, and then. So every time, but this day, if you are very busy for the clinical research, you have to reduce the time of the kind of like a basic science research. But this day, I have a lot of research work, so I, decrease the cases of the spine surgery a little bit. So it depends, but it depends on the timing. It depends on the, what you are what you are doing. So, but I think you can modify your lifestyle depending on the situation. So that's the key, I guess.
Yeah, but for example, sometimes I see that working research, you have to take some time for writing. Like for example, if you were a writer as a profession, they always have their time frame for writing. Do you have time frame? Like, do you, I don't know, from 7 to 9 p.m. do you write? Or because it's difficult, you need the inspiration to write. Sometimes you are like, you have the results, but you don't have the inspiration to write the discussion, for example. And do you have like a time frame in your day for writing?
Oh yes, I intentionally try to have some writing times. I usually get up like 4:30 or 5 a.m. and then I spend 1 or 2 hours that timing. So right after I get up, every time I try to write something, because that 1 hour or 2 hours right after I get up is most creative time for me. So I know what I know myself very much. So, but I don't write in the evening or in the afternoon at all. So I spare the time in the morning right after I get up. So this is very sacred time for me.
Yeah. I think you have to know yourself and know when you're the most creative during the day, right?
Yes.
So, Dr. Moriguchi, what would you say it's coming for cartilage repair in future? What do you think it would be the ideal treatment, or what do you think we should be thinking about for the future?
Yes, I have done a lot of things for the tissue engineered aspect of the cartilage repair, and then it's still innovating, and there's a lot to do for this aspect. But I'm also interested in like something different using like induced pluripotent stem cell. For example, we can create the tissue engineered construct, our tissue engineered construct based on the induced pluripotent stem cell or embryonic stem cell. I have some data of the embryonic stem cell based tissue engineered construct of ours that shows some surprisingly pro-chondrogenic tissue engineered construct, better than the conventional ones. So that is promising. But I'm interested in the different methods. Like, for example, if you can make some sort of chimera animal, that those animal has human cartilage, but the host is kind of like a pig or some kind of cow, So you can use this chimera animal using this kind of pluripotent stem cell as well. This is another technology. Some people from Stanford, have a very, great success of this field. Although it's not cartilage repair, it's pancreas regeneration. But we can apply this technology for the cartilage regeneration as well. So I would love to try this kind of stuff using promising technology. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. And last but not least, what do you think is our biggest challenge nowadays?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think from the bench to clinical practice, we have to be perfect, right? Also, we have a great potential cells such as iPS cells or embryonic stem cell. But if the transplantation doesn't work, it doesn't work. So I think we have to be perfect. All the process from the creating the cell, expanding cell, differentiate the cell, and transplant the cell, maybe like some, follow up the rehabilitation, something like that. So we have to, all people with different discipline have to, get together and, think of what is the best treatment from the beginning to the end. So that's the goal. So I think that, not only the researcher doesn't solve this issue, only the clinical surgeon doesn't, solve this issue, like, all the process. And usually like a transplantation is the key. And then, sometimes it doesn't work. Outcome would be miserable. So we already experienced this kind of like, like failure of the, some sort of like, implantation or late phase of application.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure to be here with you, Dr. Moriguchi, and learn live from your studies, from your perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. With pleasure.
Another incredible story, isn't it? Professor Yu Moriguchi from Osaka University is using allogenic cells, autologous cells, embryonic cells. He's using 3D tissue reconstruct. He's using AI, and he's forming cartilage. He's not only using the technology to form cartilage, but he's also using this technology for meniscus and for spinal cases as well. Another marvelous endeavor, and we hope that his experiments and his clinical trials get success. And he's an early riser too. That's another message. He gets up at 4:30 when the whole world is sleeping, and that's the time when he writes, when he does his research work. Incredible, isn't it? Friends, I'm very thankful to Professor Juan and Professor Yu for today's episode. We are ending the season 1 of Visionaries of Cartilage Regeneration today, and we will come back in 2025 with season 2. Keep watching. Thank you.